In the summer of 2023, Japan's most popular manga company, Weekly Shonen Jump, announced a new manga called Kagurabachi, which is about a swordsmith who takes up the blade to get revenge for his father's death. While this seems like a simple premise, the manga instantly became popular, not because of the premise though, but because of memes. On September 10th, Weekly Shonen Jump released a now infamous Kagurabachi preview, which depicted the manga's protagonist, Chihiro, unsheathing his katana. This image blew up on Twitter, or X, with many people making memes about it. The basic format is to take a beloved manga series, like Naruto or Bleach, and say that Kagurabachi is better than it. These memes proliferated through the internet, spreading to TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube. Many of these memes garnered hundreds of thousands of views, with some even passing the million view milestone. Remember, all of this happened before the first chapter was even released. Eventually, the day the first chapter came, and people had some mixed feelings on it. Some felt that it lived up to the hype, while others believed that it fell short. Personally, I felt that it was a bit impulsive to judge the quality of a manga based on just a few chapters, but when I did read this chapter, I remember looking forward to reading more. As the weeks went by and new chapters were released, the manga remained popular, at least here in the West. In the manga industry, a manga's lifespan is determined by how well it does in Japan. While the Western opinion matters, it is truly the Japanese readers who are catered to the most. For instance, while Yuji Kaku's Ayashimon was pretty popular in the English-speaking world, it wasn't as appreciated in Japan, which led to it being axed. So, while Kagurabachi blew up in the West, how did the Japanese readers feel about it? Upon release, Kagurabachi debuted at the #1 position in the Weekly Shonen Jump standings, making it the most successful manga of that week. After that, Kagurabachi tended to jump around the rankings, with the next highest rank it reached being the 4th position, and the lowest rank being a dangerous 19 out of 20. Currently, it sits at a modest 11th position, and holds an average weekly rank of 11.63. But what do these ratings mean for the future of Kagurabachi? Well, the lower the position of the manga, the more likely it is to be axed. In Kagurabachi's case, it is right in the middle of the pack, so it most likely won't be getting axed anytime soon. Similarly, it's one of the most popular manga on the Manga Plus app, which is the app used by Shonen Jump for people to easily read their manga. At the time of writing, Kagurabachi's first chapter has 1.6 million views on the app, and every chapter has upwards of 100,000 views. I would be shocked if Kagurabachi didn't survive long enough to have a 1-year anniversary, but stranger things have happened in the manga industry. So many of my favorites have been axed. This next statement might make me sound insane, but please hear me out. It's worth mentioning how Kagurabachi is quite literally changing the manga industry. While most overseas fans of manga are completely ignored by the industry, Weekly Shonen Jump has embraced Kagurabachi's overseas readers. This is because they took notice of how the memes made the manga have one of the most successful debuts of all time, and how the memes turned many foreigners into real fans. This is further represented in how the editor-in-chief of Weekly Shonen Jump discussed the manga's popularity at a panel, and how many newspapers and even some television programs discussed the anomaly of the manga's success. The impact of the West's influence was also reflected in the Amazon sales of the first manga's volume, which sold out in less than a day. Because of Kagurabachi, publishing companies are taking note of what the West can do to impact a manga, and hopefully that will lead to more companies translating their manga to other languages and making manga more accessible for a global audience. But what does the creator, Takeru Hokozano, think about all this? Well, he seems to be very grateful for his success, especially in the West. I feel like this is best shown in how he communicates with his audience. It is rare for a mangaka to engage with their Western readers, but Hokozano does it all the time. In a Manga Plus interview, he and his editor talked about how they appreciated their international audience, and how they were hoping for an anime adaptation. Thankfully, I think the fans already have this covered. As mentioned earlier, people were making memes hyping up Kagurabachi long before the manga came out. But now, over 6 months later, I think we can answer the question. Enough time has passed. Where does Kagurabachi stand compared to its contemporaries? Well, Kagurabachi has a strong story. It's about a guy named Chihiro, whose dad is the only guy in the world who can make these magic swords. Chihiro aspires to be like his father and become a special blacksmith one day, but then a shady organization takes out his dad. Now Chihiro wants revenge, so he takes up the magical sword himself. While the premise is simple, it quickly evolved into being a John Wick type of action story. Most recent shonen protagonists like Tanjiro from Demon Slayer or Deku from My Hero Academia are goofy, emotional, and impulsive. This contrasts Chihiro, who is methodical and takes time to make plans and logical decisions. While he does dress like he would make headlines for doing something bad at a school, in reality, he isn't very edgy. He tries to act cold and calculated, but he has a more chill side to him as well. The opposite is done in My Hero Academia, with Deku being warm and fuzzy most of the time, and acting like an edgelord at specific times. In my opinion, this doesn't work very well in MHA. It reminds me of the love vegetable, kill vegetable meme, or like someone getting 8th grade syndrome. So in terms of a protagonist, I find Chihiro to be more compelling than characters like Deku. Another aspect of Kagurabachi that makes it stand out from other manga is the fight choreography. Everything is well paneled, and you know exactly what is happening. This contrasts other shonen manga, like Trigun, where you need to simply not care about the paneling to enjoy it. The fights also have meaning behind them, and the characters think about what they're going to do, and even make plans on how to counter the opponent's skills and weapons. I know this sounds obvious, but so many manga have their characters run in, get railed, get back up, and pull a win out of thin air, or through the power of friendship, or some baloney like that. It always sucks when a manga acts like the reader is dumb, or will just go along with random stuff for no reason. The final solid aspect of this manga that I would like to discuss is the tone. For quite a long time, bright and colorful stories with themes of positivity and friendship dominated the shonen market. Stuff like Naruto comes to mind. In the past 5 to 10 years or so, this has been changing, with darker and grimmer stories becoming more popular. Like there's a dark trio, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise, that really set the tone for this shift. Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen are two of the most popular shonen stories of all time, and although recently they haven't been too solid, their beginnings were a good balance between creativity and edge. By being darker than usual shonen stories, they stood out, and currently Kagurabachi is doing the same. By tackling more mature subjects and making them more accessible for a younger audience, it's able to explore territory that few Weekly Shonen Jump manga dare to venture into. This sets it apart and makes it feel like a gloomy bit of fresh air for a demographic that is tired of the power of friendship. There are other positive aspects, like the power system being rather unique and the characters having depth, but those things should be the standard rather than the exception. My biggest criticism of Kagurabachi is the art. Do not get me wrong, Kagurabachi has some insane art, but the consistency of this art is a bit questionable. While the art during the fights is spectacular, Hokuzono definitely takes it easy during the mundane talking scenes. There's a few times where you could clearly see stuff that was just copied and pasted, mirrored, or zoomed in on. Obviously, it's understandable, as Hokuzono has ridiculous deadlines to meet, but when compared to similar manga, like Dear Anemone, it is slightly dubious. In Dear Anemone, the art is insane, especially for a weekly manga. This insanity does come at a cost though, as the negative space, gradients, and fog effects are sometimes used to communicate when a character is thinking. The main difference between doing this and copying and pasting is that copying and pasting is much more noticeable than this, which is a more common technique used in shoujo manga. It is significantly less egregious than the same dude's face being copied for 3 panels in a row. This could just be me being hypercritical, but I feel like Hokuzono can do a little bit better than that. So overall, is Kagurabachi what it was hyped up to be? I would say about yes. The art ranges from decent to amazing. The characters are interesting, and the story is compelling, with the tone being unique as well. I would take Kagurabachi over the manga about Naruto's kid any day of the week. At the time of writing, there's nearly 30 chapters out of Kagurabachi, so Hokuzono could easily mess things up. But so far, Kagurabachi has a promising future, and I look forward to reading more. In conclusion, read Kagurabachi, read Dear Anemone, and thank you for watching.
Later, gamers.